Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, for a well-functioning and stable government, the attainment of our desired sustainable development goals, and a just, peaceful, prosperous, and thriving society, it is indispensable for our country to have a public service with strong and effective civil servants and public employees. That is why it is my honor today to seek your concurrence to the ratification of ILO Labor Relations Convention 151 concerning the protection of the right to organize and procedures for determining conditions of employment in the public service, otherwise known as ILO 151. Who are covered by this convention? They are all persons employed by public authorities, civil servants employed in the national government agencies, its attached agencies, bureaus, local government units, and government-owned and controlled corporations. Our 2.3 million civil servants are unsung heroes. Their contribution to the security and safety of our nation, the protection of our democracy and our way of life, the smooth running of government, and ensuring a robust economy and expansion of trade, education of our youth, and the pursuit of our common ideals as a nation is incalculable. Yet compared to the workers in the private sector, they have less opportunities to negotiate terms and conditions of employment, among other rights, which are available to the private sector and other workers, leading to an unequal situation. And we need to address this inequality. Mr. President, ILO Convention 151, Labor Relations Convention 1978, was adopted on June 27, 1978, during the 64th session of the International Labor Conference, or the ILC. It entered into force in 1981. 53 states to date have already ratified the convention. So if you will count the years from 1978 to 2017, that's almost 40 years. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte signed ILO 151 on May 26, 2017, making the first step towards Philippine ratification. Let it be said that it was not lying in the archives in the Senate. It was never transmitted by the executive because the Philippines had not yet ratified it before May of 2017. If the Philippines completes the ratification process today, upon the concurrence of the Senate, we will have the distinction of being the first Asian country to do so. The rights of public sector employees are specified in the convention as 5 types of guarantees: protection of the right to organize, facilities to be afforded to public employees' organizations, procedures for determining terms and conditions of employment, settlement of disputes arising in connection with the determination of terms and conditions of employment, and civil and political rights. The convention guarantees the right of public employees to organize, provides adequate protection against acts of anti-union discrimination, and mandates the public employees' organizations shall enjoy complete independence from public authorities. Under this convention, public employees shall have the same civil and political rights as other workers, which are essential to the exercise of the freedom of association. As an employer, the government shall provide facilities to the representatives of recognized public employees' organizations to enable them to carry out their functions promptly and efficiently, both during and outside their hours of work, without impairing the efficient operation of the office. Measures appropriate to national conditions shall encourage and promote the full development and utilization of machinery for negotiation of terms and conditions of employment between the public authorities concerned and public employees' organizations, or of such methods as will allow representatives of public employees to participate in the determination of these matters. The settlement of disputes arising in connection with the determination of terms and conditions of employment shall be sought, as may be appropriate, through negotiation between the parties or through independent and impartial machinery such as mediation, conciliation, and arbitration. Mr. President, why is there a need to concur with the ratification? It goes for these following reasons. First, the Philippines is a signatory to ILO 87 on the freedom of association, ILO 98 on collective bargaining. Several observations have repeatedly noted that the rights under these conventions are limited to the private sector. ILO 151 addresses a gap in international law and affords protection for the millions of employees employed by public authorities of the ratifying countries all over the world. Second, the ratification and concurrence of ILO 151 is the Philippine government's commitment to its civil servants since it's included in the Philippine Labor and Employment Plan 2011 to 2016. Third, there is a clamor for its ratification and concurrence from 2.3 million civil servants and their families. This convention is important to them. They will enjoy better working conditions, have the opportunity to negotiate the terms and conditions of their employment, and have proper avenues to voice out their grievances. Fourth, the concurrence to the ratification of the convention will be an important measure to support the fight against graft and corruption, as better terms and conditions of employment will motivate against Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. The new mechanisms against graft and corruption, suggested and supported by the public employees organizations, are also a likely result of dialogue and negotiation. Fifth, being the first country in Asia to ratify the convention, this will bolster the domestic and international status of the Philippines as a leader in promoting and protecting labor and civil rights. Civil servants have waited for 39 long years for the ratification of this convention. The Senate's concurrence is a vote in upholding and promoting their labor rights. Let us immediately, without question, without much debate, concur with its ratification now. It was then Executive Secretary Franklin Drilon, now Minority Leader, who issued Executive Order 180 that encapsulated much of what is contained in this ILO convention. And the minority is in full support of the concurrence in the ratification of this agreement. Senator Joel Villanueva also requested the sponsor to hear this today, as it is also one of his most fervent advocacies, and wished that it be heard, debated, but sponsored, no debate, and passed unanimously by this chamber today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President.